Please, my son needs help. Please, he's not breathing. Mira's voice echoed in the quiet street as she knocked hard on the door. Light rain had just begun to fall. From terrace above, Bunny leaned on the railing, cigarette between her fingers. She and Ruru lived in a small, dingy building that stood between two houses. Sukun's on one side, Mira's on the other, across the narrow lane. Ruru stepped beside her. That's Mira, auntie, right? Bunny nodded, watching. The door opened. Sukun stepped out. He looked calm, quiet. Mira was shaking. Her voice cracked as she spoke again. He collapsed. He won't wake up. Please, doctor. Please come. Sukun looked at her, then started walking. But halfway across the lane, he stopped. I can't go in there. I'm sorry, he said, and turned back. Mira stared at him, frozen. Then she dropped to the ground and broke into sobs. The rain started falling harder. Ruru whispered, He really left her there? Bunny didn't answer. Then Ruru tossed a cigarette and ran. Come on, we need to help. Bunny followed. The street was slick with rain by the time Bunny and Ruru reached Mira's gate. The door was open. The lights inside flickered slightly as if the house itself couldn't decide whether to stay calm or collapse. Mira sat on the floor beside her son, cradling him in her lap, her hands trembling as she stroked his damp hair. The boy looked maybe 10, still, too still. Did you call the ambulance? Ruru asked, quickly kneeling down. Mira looked up, dazed. Her eyes were swollen and grayed. She shook her head. Bunny pulled out her phone and dialed. Yes, emergency. A child, unconscious. Not breathing properly. Yes, address is... Ruru tried to check the boy's pulse like she had seen in movies, but she wasn't sure what she was doing. He's cold, she whispered. The next few minutes blurred. Someone from a nearby house came with a towel. The rain beat harder against the tin shades. The siren could be heard before the red lights appeared at the end of the lane. 2 paramedics rushed in. Mira backed away, still holding one of her son's hands. They tried CPR, oxygen mask, soft instructions, quick movements. Then they lifted him onto the stretcher and carried him into the ambulance. One of them asked, You're the mother? Mira nodded. Come with us. She climbed in. The door slammed shut. Bunny and Ruru stood in silence as the ambulance pulled away, red light flashing against the rain-soaked road. Ruru sniffed and wiped her face angrily. He just stood there and walked away. He could have saved him. Bunny didn't reply. She just looked back across the lane. Sukun's house was dark. No light in the windows. No sound. Just silence. The hospital waiting room smelled like stale air and wet shoes. The lights were too bright. The plastic chairs too cold. Mira sat hunched, hands clenched in her lap, her wet clothes clinging to her skin. She hadn't said a word since the ambulance ride. Her lips were slightly opened, but no sound came. Her eyes didn't blink. Bunny sat beside her, silently, close, but not touching. She didn't know what to say, only that she needed to stay. Across the room, Ruru paced. Her shoes squeaked on the floor. She had already spoken to the nurse twice. The third time, the nurse told her to sit and wait. Finally, a doctor came out from the double doors. He walked slowly. Bunny stood up. Ruru rushed to him. How is he? Is he okay? The doctor looked at Mira, then at them. I'm sorry, he said gently. We tried, but he didn't make it. Everything stopped. Ruru took a step back. What? Mira didn't react at first. She just stared at the floor, like she didn't hear it. The doctor repeated it softer this time. He's gone. Bunny turned to Mira. Her mouth moved as if to say something, anything, but she stopped. Mira slowly leaned forward. Her hands fell to the sides of the chair. Her body didn't shake. She didn't cry. She just whispered, No! And then collapsed onto Bunny's shoulder. Bunny caught her, held her, closed her eyes, said nothing. Across the room, Ruru was breathing heavily, hands shaking. That bastard, she muttered. He let a child die, just turned around and walked away like nothing. Bunny looked up, lips parted. Ruru? No, don't, Ruru snapped. Don't say maybe he had a reason. You saw it. We both did. She begged him. He said no. She was pacing again. The nurse tried to quiet her. She waved them off. He needs to pay for this, Ruru said. People need to know what kind of man he is. Bunny gently ran her hand over Mira's back, who still hadn't moved or spoken. I'm posting this, Ruru said, already pulling out her phone. Bunny's eyes widened. Now? Yes, now, before the world forgets what just happened. The rain had stopped by the time they got back to the PG. Bunny stood under the bathroom geyser with her forehead against the tile, water running down her back, but it did nothing to wash off the weight she felt. The silence in the bathroom pressed against her ears. She could still hear Mira's soft gasp from when the doctor said, He's gone. By the time she stepped out, towel around her neck, Ruru was already typing furiously on her phone, curled cross-legged on the bed. The room smelled like wet clothes, tea from the shop downstairs, and something else. Anger. Bunny sat down at her desk. You're still posting? Ruru didn't look up. Finished it. Just need to choose the right photo. She tapped twice, then held the phone out. Bunny hesitated before reading. It read, We live across 2 houses. One belongs to Mira auntie, a single mother who works day and night to give her son a decent life. The other belongs to Dr. Sukun, a man who carries the title of doctor like it's a crown. Tonight, Mira auntie's son collapsed. She ran to Sukun's door crying, begging him to come. He followed her halfway, then stopped, looked at her and said, I can't go in there, and walked back. The boy died in the hospital. This is not fiction. This is real. This is how cruelty looks in real life. Polished, cold, silent. Hashtag justice for Mira. Hashtag never forget. Hashtag doctor of shame. Bunny blinked. You added stuff that didn't happen. It didn't? Ruru said. It's all true. Just shaped. You made it sound like he did it to punish her. He did punish her. But we don't know why. We don't need to, Ruru snapped. You saw it. He walked away. She clicked post. The phone screen glowed for a second. Then the notifications began. 1 like, 7 likes, 15, 32, hundreds. Shares, comments, DMs. People were angry. Monsters raise stethoscope now. This is unforgivable. License should be revoked. Name and shame him. Someone posted his photo. The world needs to see his face. Ruru's hands were shaking, but not with fear, with focus. She turned to Bunny. Now he'll know what it feels to be ignored. Bunny said nothing. Across the lane, Sukun's house was still dark. It had been 4 days. 4 days since the post. 4 days since the photos, hashtags, and media trucks arrived in the quiet neighborhood. 4 days since Sukun's name was everywhere, trending on social media, debated on TV panels, cursed in Instagram stories. And now, finally an official inquiry had been launched. A small crowd had gathered at the local civic hall where Mira had been called to speak. Reporters stood outside with mics, whispering updates into the phones. Bunny and Ruru waited near the back, watching the woman at the center of it all step inside. Mira looked thinner somehow. Her hair was tied in a loose braid. She wore the simple cotton kurta she always did. No makeup, no expression. Ruru leaned in and whispered, She's going to break down. I know it. Bunny didn't answer. She hadn't been sleeping well. Everything felt off, like the story was moving too fast, too loudly, and she was the only one wondering if they had missed something. A woman from the inquiry panel adjusted her mic. Mrs. Mira? Mira nodded gently. We understand there is a delay in treatment the night your son passed away. You were seen asking Dr. Sukun for help. Do you confirm this? Mira looked up. Her lips were pale. She took a deep breath. Yes, she said. I asked him for help. The hall was silent. And did he refuse to help you because of personal hatred or malice, as has been claimed? Mira paused. Ruru leaned forward, waiting. Mira's voice was quiet, barely loud enough to reach the mic. No, she said. It wasn't like that. He didn't hurt anyone. It was a misunderstanding, that's all. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Ruru's face twisted. What is she saying? Bunny's eyes widened. He didn't threaten me. He didn't insult me. He just said he couldn't come. And I didn't stop him. Mira looked down, her hands resting on her lap. That's all I have to say. One of the panelists frowned. Do you believe he could have saved your son if he had come with you? Mira didn't speak. The silence stretched too long. Then, finally, she whispered, Maybe. Maybe not. But it wasn't out of cruelty. The sessions ended. No further questions. The room emptied slowly, confused and buzzing. Outside, reporters looked baffled. Some tried to chase Mira down for quotes. She ignored them. Ruru stood frozen. She's lying, she muttered. She's terrified of him. He must have threatened her. Bunny turned to her. Ruru, what if she's not? Ruru stared at her like she had grown a second head. Are you serious? After everything? But Bunny said nothing. Something in Mira's voice had felt real. And something in the whole storm was beginning to feel wrong. By the time they got back to the PG, Ruru was already unlocking her phone with shaking fingers. She's scared, she said, pacing the room. He silenced her. You heard how she spoke? Like she was being watched. Bunny sat on the edge of her bed, towel drying her hair. Ruru, I don't think. She testified against herself, Bunny, Ruru snapped. She just lost her son, and she's defending the man who let him die. That's not grief, that's fear. Bunny sighed. Ruru ignored her. She was already typing. Update. Mira auntie, the mother who just lost her only child, testified today, but not how you'd expect. She said the doctor didn't mean harm, that it was a misunderstanding. I was there that night. I saw her cry, beg, scream. I saw him walk away, and now I see her silent, scared, and still grieving. So no, we won't stay quiet just because she has to. The fight doesn't stop here. Hashtag justice for Mira. Hashtag we stand with her. Hashtag ban Sukoon. She hit post. The response was faster this time. The followers had grown. So had the outrage. He threatened her. Typical abuser move. This is why women don't speak out. He should be arrested, not just banned. Keep posting, we're with you. Someone shared a photo of Sukoon outside his now shuttered clinic, looking downcast. It was zoomed in, blurry, taken without his consent. Another comment read, Let's find his medical license details. Time to report him everywhere. Ruru was glowing, not smiling, but alive in a way Bunny hadn't seen before. He deserves this, she muttered. He built his life on silence, and now it will bury him. Bunny stared at her. Something about the way Ruru was speaking, like this wasn't about Mira anymore. This was about winning. Outside, Sukun's house remained silent. No lights, no sound. Bunny wasn't sure anymore who she was standing with. It happened 3 days later. The email was cold, short, official. Subject, notice of license revocation, Dr. Sukun. Following the public complaint and ongoing investigation, your license has been temporarily suspended by the Medical Ethics Board until further notice. You are hereby instructed to cease all clinical activities immediately. Ruru found the news before Sukun did. It was already circulating online. Screenshots of the email leaked, paired with headlines that screamed for justice. Doctor who ignored dying child loses medical license. The internet holds him accountable, netizens cheered. Victory for Mira! Doctor finally punished. Bunny scrolled through the comments, each one louder than the last. Finally! Took them long enough. He should be in jail. A man like that doesn't deserve to practice medicine. Imagine being his patient. In the PG, Ruru was already on her third cup of chai, sitting cross-legged on the floor like a general after a battle. I told you, she said, scrolling proudly. We did something big. He's done now. Bunny sat at the window, watching the sun dip behind Sukun's house. The gate hadn't opened in days. No visitors, no deliveries, no sounds. Do you think he's okay? Bunny asked softly. Ruru looked up. Who cares? I mean, he didn't even respond. No statement, nothing. Exactly, because he knows he's guilty. Bunny didn't reply. Her eyes stayed fixed on the window across the street. On the quiet, closed house where a man lived alone, now stripped of the only thing he had left. And it was 5 a.m. The street was still asleep. The sky hadn't decided whether to be dark or blue, and the early air carried the soft chill that made breathing feel real again. Bunny hadn't slept. She stepped out of the PG terrace, barefoot, arms folded over her t shirt. Her head was heavy. Nothing had made sense since Mira's testimony, since Sukun's license was seized, since all of it. She stood there for a while, just breathing. Then something moved on the street below. Two men, one in a cap, the other carrying a camera bag, were standing quietly at Sukun's gate. They looked unsure. One kept glancing around, the other checked his phone. It wasn't casual, it was cautious, like they didn't want to be seen. Her eyes narrowed. Sukun stepped out a second later. No words were exchanged, but he handed them a small parcel, flat and brown, like a sealed file or envelope. The men nodded, then left quickly. Bunny watched, eyebrows knit together. Who were they? Why so secretive? Then her eyes drifted back to Sukun's gate, still open. He was standing there, looking right at her. No smile, no wave, no frown, just still. Their eyes met across the soft blue morning. Bunny felt like her throat tightened. She stepped back suddenly, heart thumping, and ducked into the stairs. She didn't know why, but something about that stare unnerved her. Back in the room, Ruru was snoring softly, unaware. Bunny sat at the edge of her bed, still shaken. A few hours later, news started popping up. Not on Ruru's angry echo chamber timelines, but on the quieter ones. Was the doctor framed? New reports suggest there's more to the story. Close sources defend Sukun. He has helped hundreds in silence. Was this a smear campaign gone too far? Bunny stared at the screen. Those men this morning, they were media. And the parcel? Proof? A statement? A PR kit? She clicked on a newer post. One that didn't scream for blood. Ruru stirred on the bed beside her. Bunny whispered, more to herself than anyone. Rascal. She looked at Ruru, asleep and peaceful. She was right the whole time. She opened the comment section of one of the newer posts. She looked at Ruru, asleep and peaceful. She was right the whole time. She opened the comment section of one of the newer posts. People were divided. He's a murderer in a white coat. Social media ruined another man's life. She defended him in court. Respect her word. He was just protecting himself. Why is that so hard to believe? Then one comment caught Bunny's eyes. At the rate Healer Soul 92. He is a masiha. This man treated kids from our basti for free every Sunday. He even bought medicine with his own money. He never asked for anything in return. And this is what he's getting. Attached was a photo. Blurry, but there was no mistaking it. It was him. Sukun sitting under a plastic canopy, surrounded by children. One girl in his lap, a boy getting a bandage. He was smiling. Something in Bunny's chest dropped. Without even thinking, she clicked on the profile and messaged, Hi, can you tell me more about Dr. Sukun? Please. Her fingers paused. Then she hit send. The message sat unread for nearly a full day. Bunny kept checking. Seen? No. Replied? No. The comment about Sukun being a messiah kept circling in her head like a mosquito that wouldn't die. What if it was just planted PR? Another lie. The next evening, while scrolling through yet another debate on a viral post, she saw the same username again. Healer Soul 92. Defending Sukun again. You all are so loud when it comes to hate. Where were you when this man gave up his Sundays to treat kids for free? When he refused awards? When he spent his savings on medicine instead of taking vacations like your favorite influencers? Bunny clenched her jaw. She opened his profile and messaged again. You're a liar. If you defend a culprit, you're a culprit too. Mind that. She hit send before she could overthink it. A few minutes later, the reply came. Who are you to judge anyone? If you really knew him, you wouldn't have messaged me like this. But you don't. You sound like someone who swallows whatever's trending. Herd mentality. Loud but hollow. Bunny blinked, cheeks flushing with anger. She quickly typed, "Then please, allow me to know your Masiha better. Maybe I can help him if he's really innocent." A typing bubble appeared. Then, then a message with a pin drop location. "Come tomorrow morning. Ask for me at the green gate." The next day, just past 9 a.m., Bunny found herself standing in front of a green gate in an unfamiliar part of the city. It didn't look like much. A faded sign that read Naira Foundation hung crookedly from the wall. But the place felt strangely calm. Trees shaded the entrance, wind chimes clinked softly. She hesitated, then pushed the gate open. Inside, laughter spilled into the morning air. Kids were everywhere, some playing with building blocks, others painting an old newspaper. A few in wheelchairs were parked near a shaded corner where someone was reading aloud. But what caught Bunny off guard was the mix. Some of the children weren't orphans, some weren't even able to speak or walk properly. Many had visible conditions: bent spines, missing limbs, pale eyes, but all of them looked happy. "Hey!" She turned. A boy no older than her stood at the far end of the walkway, holding a clipboard and wearing a plain black t shirt with a faded comic print. "You're Bunny, right?" She nodded. "Are you Healer Soul 92? He grinned. "Yeah, real name's Vivek." They shook hands. His grip was warm and unhurried. "Wait, I've seen you before," Bunny said. Vivek raised his brow. "You were there at Sukun's house a few days ago with another man. Am I right?" Bunny asked. "Ah, yeah," Vivek nodded coolly. "We had gone there to take the medicine." Bunny just looked without a word. "I wasn't sure you'd actually come," he said, walking beside her. "I wasn't sure either," Bunny admitted. Vivek led her toward a side building. "Come, I'll show you where he used to sit." Inside was a wide room, floor lined with old mats, plastic chairs, a shelf of dusty storybooks, board games with missing pieces, and a metal cupboard labeled medical. A paper sun hung from the ceiling. "He used to come every Sunday," Vivek said. "No announcement, no social media, just showed up." He walked over the cupboard and opened it. Stacks of medicine, inhaler, bandages, sanitizers, all neatly arranged. "He paid for most of this, out of pocket." Bunny glanced around. "No one knew?" "No, no one outside cared to know. But here, we knew." He looked out the window at a group of kids drawing chalk patterns on the floor. "He got someone to donate oxygen cylinders during the viral outbreak last year. Helped a girl with seizures get a diagnosis. Bought crutches for 2 boys. Gave health talks in the simplest words. He even bought new toothbrushes every month." Bunny felt like her heart was folding in on itself. She spotted a bulletin board with tape drawings, crooked houses, smiling suns, stick figures with stethoscopes. In one faded photo, Sukun sat cross-legged on the floor, a girl leaning against his arms, smiling up at him. He was so light. Vivek glanced at her. "You look like someone whose brain's breaking into two." Bunny swallowed. "Yes, it is." "You were one of the ones calling him a monster." "No," she said after a beat. "But I didn't stop anyone either." Vivek didn't reply. He just walked her to the door. As they reached the gate, she asked, "Do you know where he grew up?" Vivek nodded. "He talked about it a few times. Said it wasn't really home, just where he survived." He scribbled an address on a folded paper. "Rudra Gaon, near the hills. Bus from Shivpur terminal. Morning rides quiet." Bunny stared at it. "Thanks," she said. Vivek gave her a small nod. "Hope you find whatever truth you're looking for." That evening, the sky burned orange through the PG windows. Bunny sat cross-legged on her bed, staring at the folded slip of paper from Vivek. Rudra Gaon, written in a messy ink. Her thumb ran over it again and again. She couldn't focus. The words from the orphanage, the photos, the oxygen cylinders, they were all spinning in her head. And yet, that night, Sukun still walked away. She needed clarity. She needed Ruru to listen for once. Ruru was on the floor, phone plugged in, editing yet another carousel post about how to spot silent narcissist. Ruru, Bunny said. Hmm. Bunny hesitated, then spoke slowly. What if Sukun is actually innocent? The phone slipped slightly from Ruru's hand. She looked up sharply. What? I'm saying, what if? No! Ruru cut in, her voice rising. Why the hell are you trying to defend that man now? I'm not defending. You sound like it. After everything that's happened, after what Mira auntie went through, Bunny kept her tone calm. If he was really guilty, don't you think Mira would have spoken by now? She didn't even blame him in her testimony. Ruru snapped. She didn't speak because she was terrified. You think she was protecting him? No, she was protecting herself. That man could have done anything to her. And you? You're really out there playing devil's advocate now? For him? Bunny's jaw clenched. Ruru kept going, voice rising. Instead of standing by a mother who just lost a child, you're chasing the why of a man who just walked away? That's messed up, Bunny. That phrase, standing by a mother, landed hard, but not the way Ruru meant it. Bunny's voice sharpened. Don't twist the idea of support just to make your side feel righteous. Ruru blinked. Bunny stood up. After her testimony, have you visited Mira even once? Spoken to her? Held her hand? Ruru said nothing. You're so obsessed with your version of the story, you have forgotten it was never yours to begin with. Ruru opened her mouth, but Bunny didn't stop. Don't confuse the social media tactics with real life. Just because people are praising you online doesn't mean you're right. Ruru crossed her arms, but her face faltered. Bunny stepped forward, fire in her voice now. If something bad happens, if we destroy someone's life by feeding the wrong narrative, you won't get the chance to fix it. Not with a post. Not with hashtags. The room was silent, except for the faint hum of a fan. Bunny picked up her bag. And one more thing, she said, turning at the door. Those people praising your guts online, they won't feed your soul, or fix your loneliness, or catch you when this high disappears. She shut the door behind her. Ruru sat frozen. By the time Bunny reached Rudragaon, it was early afternoon. The bus had dropped her at a faded junction. A dusty road forked in a line of sleepy houses and crooked signboards. There were kids playing cricket nearby, a man on a bicycle, and goats nibbling plastic near the drain. She took out the slip of paper Vivek had given her, reading the name again. Dr. Sukun's childhood house. Ask for it near the old temple. She began asking around. Do you know where Dr. Sukun used to live? Blank looks. Who? Never heard of him. Some of the older ones gave vague hand gestures, but no real directions. The younger ones only shook their heads, no idea. Bunny was starting to think she had come all this way for nothing when a voice called out from behind. You're looking for Dr. Sukun's house? She turned. A man in his early 30s stood near a small tea stall, holding a glass of cutling chai. He wore a checked lungi and a worn-out vest, with kindness on his face. Ah, Bobby, he said. Walking over, I saw you asking around. Come, I'll take you. Grateful, Bunny followed. As they walked down a narrow lane, she asked, Do you live nearby? Bobby nodded. Next lane. We were friends, kind of. Kind of? Bobby scratched his neck. We used to play together as kid. He was quiet, but sweet. Never fought with anyone, but my parents didn't like me hanging out with him. Why? Bobby sighed. He was from Choti Jat, lower caste, they said. So I was pulled away, told not to eat from his tiffin, not to sit with him. Back then, I didn't think much. But now it feels like the stupidest thing in the world. Bunny stared at him, shocked. They stopped in front of a small mud-plastered house with a sloping tin roof that had caved in at one side. The outer wall was cracked, patched with old posters and black fungus stains. A faded cloth once meant to be a curtain flapped weakly where a window used to be. The house looked less like a home and more like a place forgotten mid-breath, a shell left behind by people who were never truly allowed to belong. That's his house, Bobby said quietly. Bunny felt her breath catch. It looked like no one had touched it in decades. The roof cracked, doors swollen with rain, nameplate half faded. He never came back? She asked. Bobby shook his head. Not once. But he's a doctor now, rich, respected. Why didn't he renovate this place? Bobby's eyes dropped to the ground. Maybe because this house only held pain. Bunny looked at him. People here treated his family like garbage, he continued. They never were allowed to use the well. Had to walk 2 hours to fetch water from the river. The temple, forbidden. No festivals. No wearing invites. They existed. That's all. Like shadows. Bunny's face had tightened into a quiet frown. Hey, do you mind if I record this? She asked gently. Bobby glanced at her phone, then nodded. Bobby then pointed toward a house down the road beside a large peepal tree. That one. Their immediate neighbor, the cruelest of all. They wouldn't even let him walk past the gate. Beat him once for stepping near it while playing. Bunny's stomach turned. One night, when his mother fell sick, Sukun ran to all the neighbors, asked for help, begged for water. No door opened, not one. That night, Bobby said, his voice low, his mother died. His father followed not long after. People here whispered it was heartbreak. I think it was a shame, or just the weight of being invisible. Bunny couldn't hold it in. She sat down on the cracked platform beside the wall, covering her face with her hands. Tears broke through, ugly silent sobs. She had come looking for facts and found something much heavier, a graveyard of memories that no one mourned. After a moment, Bobby said softly, Then, some NGO people came, took him away, educated him, raised him like their own, gave him a new life. Maybe that was his blessing in disguise, Bobby added with a bitter smile. Bunny wiped her face, stood up. Her voice was shaky but firm. I want to meet that neighbor, the one who beat him. I need to see them, need to know. Bobby hesitated, then nodded. Come. He walked her towards the house near the tree. It was bigger now, painted and polished, a satellite dish on the roof, a garden by the gate. Bobby rang the bell. A woman opened the door, then smiled. Bobby, it's been ages. He smiled back. This is my cousin from Delhi. Came to see the old village. They invited her in warmly. The house smelled of incense and fried snacks. Bunny sat in the guest room. Her eyes wandered. And then she froze. On the wall, among garland photos of elders and smiling wedding portraits, was a picture of a younger woman holding a child in her arms. Meera. Her breath stopped. Meera, Sukun's neighbor, the one who had cried and begged for help that night. And Sukun, the man who had once been beaten for walking too close to the very house. His words that night echoed again. I can't go in there. It wasn't cruelty. It was trauma. Bunny stood up abruptly, heart pounding, her skin hot with realization. Without a word, she rushed out of the house, Bobby calling faintly after her. But she didn't stop. She ran. Ran as if the whole village was burning behind her, as if truth had finally caught up her breath. Bunny stood at the lonely bus stand on the edge of Rudragaon, the heat thick in the air, her hands still trembling from what she had just witnessed. Her phone buzzed. Ruru. He's gone. Sukun is dead. Self-exited. The words didn't register at first. She stared, then blinked. Her knees buckled. She stumbled back against the rusted bench, hand gripping its edge for support. No sound came out of her mouth, but her chest burned like it was trying to scream from inside. He was gone. Just like that. Sukun, the boy who ran to neighbors begging for water, the man who healed sick children quietly in the city's shadow, the man who simply couldn't walk into the house of people who destroyed his family. Her vision blurred. A sharp ringing filled her ears. She shut her eyes, tried to breathe, but her throat closed like it was drowning. The bus arrived, wheels screeching. On instinct, Bunny climbed in, found a seat near the window, and sat down numbly, her face turned towards the dusty glass. She closed her eyes, but nothing stopped the ache clawing inside her. Her hands shook as she reached into her pocket, pulled out her phone, opened her voice recordings. She found the one she had saved, Bobby's voice, raw and unfiltered. She hit send. Bunny to Ruru. Listen to this. You need to know what you did. Then she leaned back, eyes closed, as the boss rolled forward. The truth was out, but it came too late. The city felt colder when she returned. Bunny didn't stop at her PG. She walked straight to Mira's house, her footsteps hollow on the pavement. Her limbs felt like they didn't belong to her body anymore. The door opened slowly. Mira stood there, eyes sunken, as if she hadn't slept in days. Can we talk? Bunny asked. No words, just a quiet nod. Mira stepped aside. Inside the house was silent, washed in the faded yellow of the afternoon. A photo of her son still near the window. His smile frozen in time. Bunny didn't sit. She looked directly at Mira. He's dead. Mira flinched, but said nothing. He's dead, Bunny repeated, her voice sharpened now. You knew the truth. You could have saved him from the mess we created. Why didn't you say it clearly? Mira's lip parted, but no words came. You were his neighbor, Bunny whispered. You saw his parents suffer. You turned your back on them. And now you just stood there again. Why? Mira looked away. Her voice came out barely above a breath. I did my part. I said what I could have when they asked. That was all I could offer. That wasn't enough, Bunny snapped. Not for someone you helped destroy. Silence. Then Mira turned to her, eyes tired but strangely calm. You think I didn't feel guilty? She said. You think I didn't sit by my son's hospital bed and wish someone had stopped me years ago when I was part of the cruelty? Then why stay silent now? Bunny cried. Why let the world think he was a monster? Mira stared straight at her. Because a part of me wanted him to suffer, just like he had suffered back then. Not out of hatred, but because I thought if he was hurting, maybe I'd feel less alone in mine. Bunny's mouth went dry. Mira stepped closer, her voice low. But you want the truth? She said. The real reason he died? It's not just me. It's you. And everyone like you. People who need heroes and villains for their online drama. People who share stories without knowing the weight of them. People who chase justice, but only on Wi Fi. Bunny felt the words cut deep. You ruined him for likes and retweets, Mira continued. And when he broke, you write captions about grief and healing, but none of it will bring him back. Bunny's eyes filled again. Mira sat down, her shoulders slumped. Now leave. Go carry your part of the guilt. Bunny didn't argue. She turned slowly, walked to the door, but paused. He's gone, she said softly. You don't get to punish him anymore. And with that, she left. Mira sat in the quiet, eyes on the photo of her son, her silence louder than ever. The PG was unusually silent that evening. Bunny walked in, her steps slow, her eyes heavy from everything she had seen, everything she now carried. Inside, Ruru sat on the floor near the window, the lights off. The only glow came from the street lamp outside, flickering across her face. She looked distant, not sad, not angry, just vacant. As Bunny entered, Ruru didn't turn. Why did you send me this sad story? She asked quietly. What's that got to do with me? Bunny stared at her, stunned. What? Ruru finally looked up. I mean, how is that my fault? I didn't kill him. He just gave up. Something in Bunny snapped. How? Are you serious right now? She shouted. You dragged him through mud. You made the entire city believe he was a monster. Ruru stood, defensive. I believe what I saw. He walked away, Bunny. That night, he walked away. Bunny's voice shook. Yeah, he walked away from her. You know why? Because she was the one who destroyed his family. Mira, your precious giving mother, was the neighbor who refused to help his mom, who watched his father die in shame. Ruru blinked as if slapped. What? Bunny's eyes didn't waver. You want to talk about culprits and victim? Then listen carefully. Mira let a boy suffer, and you finished the job years later. Ruru was silent. Bunny stepped back, picked up her bag from the corner. You said you wanted to stand for something. Good. Then stand in this mess you made. She opened the door, paused once. Now you decide who really needed saving. Then she walked out, leaving Ruru alone in the dark, with only the sound of the city outside and the weight of everything she could no longer undo.